Good morning and welcome to the annual council meeting. I now invite my chaplain to open the meeting with a prayer. This also allows time for personal reflection before we start the business of the meeting.
Almighty God, we give thanks for the service of Mark, our Mayor, that he has given to this council and the community of Torbay over this last year. We also remember all who have served this council, and particularly commend all who have served this community, and particularly Councillor Patrick Joyce. We pray that the council will serve the people of Torbay with integrity, selflessness and determination, that the vulnerable, poor and lost will not be forgotten, and that through vision and hard work, the council will benefit and enhance the lives of all who live in Torbay. Amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. When speaking, please ensure your microphone is turned on. If members wish to leave the meeting before it is finished, please follow Standing Order A25.7 and give your apologies before you leave via the Head of Governance Support. Please note that we are live streaming this meeting via the Council's YouTube channel to encourage more people to engage in our public meetings. The proceedings of the Council meeting will also be recorded. Please can attendees refrain from watching the live stream, as this will cause interference with our viewers. We are not expecting any fire alarm testing today. In the event of an evacuation, you will hear a recorded message requesting you to evacuate the building. Please leave by the nearest exit. The Riviera Centre staff will assist you. Once outside, please assemble in front of the tennis courts to the seaward side of the building. Please also ensure that all mobile phones and iPads are turned to silent. Any apologies for absence?
Mr Mayor, no apologies for absence have been received in advance. Group leaders, do you have any apologies for absence? Councillor Darling.
Councillor Mandy Darling. And Councillor Fox will be with us very shortly.
I move to item 3, election of the Worshipful Mayor of Torbay. Can Councillor Madison please put a motion to the Council?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. May I wish you the best as you complete your term of office. And I stand with great pleasure to nominate Councillor Swithin-Long to succeed you as Mayor of Torbay, a gentleman who has carried the mace before, but is ready now to bear the chains of office. Councillor Long has an interesting background, born in Khartoum in the Sudan, to parents who also served, in this case with the British Council. He lived, as I did, in a number of different countries in the Arab world. He studied government and public policy, has worked with Age UK, and has held cabinet office with responsibility for housing, regeneration, and tourism. Outside of the Council, he has shown particular interest in diversity and social care issues. And he brings with him today, as a special guest for this very proud occasion, his own partner. I can say with confidence that this role was destined to be Swithin's. That is because cross-party agreement was reached to confirm his nomination months ago. The leader of the Council, no less, rose to support the nomination. The arrangement reflects the very balanced numbers in the political groups. In other councils, this balance might have resulted in cooperation, suspension of narrow politicking, mutual respect even. However, in Torbay, under this Conservative leadership, the spirit of cooperation has been weak, and respect has been withheld. You see, members of the opposition benches were informed only 2 days ago that the administration no longer intends to honour its commitment. Too late for Councillor Long's guests to recoup their expenditure. Too late for one member of the opposition to alter important plans so she can attend. And this, colleagues, is an example of bad faith. I wish I were more surprised. Such casual reneging on a commitment raises the issue of integrity, and not for the first time. Integrity was a theme of concern to Prosper Torbay. Why? Because an absence of integrity in the Conservative leadership was an important reason for my departure from the Conservatives and for the departure of the late Councillor Patrick Joyce, as many of you on the benches opposite know well. More than once, we were told one thing for it only to turn out to be another. Acting in good faith in public life and private life is what marks out individuals of quality. Trust builds cooperation, transparency, the sharing of ideas. It builds progress. It clears the atmosphere so that we can remember, without interference, that our sole purpose for being here is to look after the welfare of our residents. Anything else is distortion and distraction. Something has gone wrong when politicians think that this is normal. I anticipate that in the vote which follows, there'll be individuals on the benches opposite for whom I have some respect, who may not have given much thought to what it means to give your word to another person, or to a roomful of other people. It is what reputations are built on. Do not be manoeuvred into voting against Councillor Long, because by voting against him, you are in fact voting for the low values that your leaders have brought into this council. But let me return to Councillor Long. I'm aware of some of the planning that Councillor Long has been putting into his mayoral year, and I believe this term could be really quite exciting if things turn out.
30 seconds.
I know how enthusiastic he is to commit to the role, and I am unreservedly delighted to move that he be our mayor, not because this is what was agreed by you with us, but because I think he'll do a great job. I hope this motion will find unanimous support. Thank you.
Do you have a seconder?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I rise to second the motion, and I will be unusually reserving my right.
I now invite debate. Councillor Long.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I would like to start off by thanking the Council for voting unanimously for myself to be Mayor-elect in February, and at the time I was delighted that Councillor Thomas offered to second. It was great to hear in February that he was happy to second and that he was pleased at that time that agreement over the position of Mayor over the remainder of this term had been reached. Can I, at this moment, like you did, Mr. Mayor, just pay tribute to Patrick Joyce, who is very much missed on all sides. We first met, I think, in this room at a Torbay Business Forum meeting, breakfast, and then worked together on the Adult Social Care and Health Overview and Scrutiny Board, and it's incredibly sad that he is no longer with us. My ambition, if I do become mayor, is that the many charities, organisations and small businesses who are unsung but do great things can be championed. I would like to give an example from the ward that I have the honour of representing, Barton with Watcombe. An example is the Willows Community and Coffee Group, Doesn't sound very special, but I know from during COVID that community group literally saved lives from people who are lonely. That ambition was why I reached out to all councillors to find out what groups there are in all our wards, because it would be great to highlight and champion them together. Today is meant to be a civic and ceremonial event, and I am genuinely shocked and disappointed that today is becoming a political event, which I only discovered on Monday evening late from an email from the leader of the council. The two charities I hope to support are Path Torbay, who are a homeless charity and do sterling work, which I'm sure we're all aware of, and also Torbay Pride, who I have supported over the last 2 years. Many LGBTQ plus residents in the Bay have made representations to me that they do not feel supported by this council, and I would like to help heal that relationship. I have enjoyed working with you, Mr. Mayor, on some joint work in that regard, and I hope we can continue to do that work together. I have reached out to business organisations, the college and other groups to initiate conversations about how they could use the position of Mayor to promote Torbay, and hope to be able to build on those conversations. I would like to thank Councillor Nicolau for offering his support, and also to Councillor Mandy Darling, who gave me the inspiration to want to bring back the mayoral dog position, and Councillor Law kindly crocheted this mayoral chain for our rescue dog Angel, who I'd hoped to be with us today but isn't, as a result of what's been going on. I would also like to thank my partner Andy, who this week, like many weeks, has had to put up with more than he should. A number of councillors in this chamber will remember my predecessor, the late Councillor Roger Stringer, who was respected for his charity work and saving Barton Post Office. He had also been scheduled to be mayor, but was denied that opportunity by a previous Conservative administration, albeit he had 3 weeks' notice. I hope that wrong can be righted today and not compounded on this occasion with only 3 days' notice with me. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and if I might, I would like to request a recorded vote, please.
Okay, that is, yes, we will, but I was going to call for the recorded vote anyway. Councillor David Thomas.
Thank you indeed, Mr. Mayor. And it's a rather unusual situation to have a debate over the election of a mayor and deputy mayor. I'm going to speak, at least I intend to speak once and once only in this chamber. The council bestows the honour of the mayor and deputy mayor on an individual. And I'd like you to cast your minds back, if I may, to 1 year ago when we were actually in this very chamber, and this council bestowed that honour upon Councillor Mark Spagagna as the mayor and Councillor Hannah Stevens as the deputy mayor. And for those of you who may be new to the council, the role of the deputy mayor, in my opinion, is the role of an apprenticeship. It provides a 1-year position as the role of deputy to allow that individual to understand the inner workings of the council, to understand how these meetings actually function, so that they are able to step into the shoes of the mayor the following year. And so ordinarily, the honourable and succession planning way of doing things, and the rightful person and position of those people moving into that place would be Councillor Hannah Stevens. And that's why we actually promoted and put in and bestowed that honour, actually every single one of us at that time on this side of the chamber. So we moved to our decision making of where we were, probably about, I don't know, two and a half weeks ago. There was a request for if we were going to second this and to indicate our support to this. At that time, we were unsure whether we were going to do that. We communicated that decision across the chamber, so in the interests of no surprises. And that discussion continued earlier this week when the group made that decision. And what is unusual for a political party, as soon as that decision was made within this political party, we communicated that decision immediately to our colleagues in the opposition to not only indicate that we would not be supporting the Mayor and Deputy Mayor this morning, we also indicated that this morning we would not be putting an amendment forward. So it is very unusual for a political party to put forward to the opposition to say exactly what it is that we intended to do. And so we did that earlier this week, fully disclosing our intention. So what I would say is we will not be voting, in fact we will be voting against the proposal this morning for both the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor. We believe the honourable thing and the correct thing and the succession planning is as per this council's decision over 1 year ago, not a few months ago on the 7th of December. And the reason that my group do not want to engage in a full debate on this is because we do not wish to see a repeat of the 7th of December. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It confirms our intention.
Councillor Steve Darling.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I think it's extremely important that we reflect that this is the position of having a Liberal Democrat year for the mayoralty. It's not something that we as an opposition sought. This is actually something that once the two members from Prosper stepped away from the Conservative group, it's something that Patrick identified that there should be 2 years of Conservatives, 1 year of Lib Dem, and then whichever Independent or Prosper step into it for the last year of that. I suspect Patrick may well have been that person for the last year. Sadly, he's no longer to do that. And one can only just wonder what has happened over the last few weeks since the Conservative leader seconded the motion for the Mayor and Deputy Mayor for this year, and also we agreed the following year as well to give people confidence. Why talk about honour in the speech now when you have dishonoured the position earlier on by choosing to change the way that the Conservative group is voting? That decision on the 1st of February was a unanimous decision. And one can only reflect on what has happened since then to change people's minds. And I do not need to write that out large. Now, as a local authority, we had a peer review not that long ago. And I've gone on a number of those. It would be inappropriate for me to comment on that. But quite often, I've gone on those as a peer mentor for the LGA. And you find that some of the issues on there are how elected members can work better together. And I wonder if when the peer review does come out, it might be asking how can we work better together as a body of councillors in Torbay. And Katia Madison hit it on the head when she was proposing Councillor Long earlier on, that you can only do this, improve relationships for Torbay, is by developing trusted relationships that we know that people's word is their bond, is their honour, and yet that has been broken between the 1st of February and now. So I would encourage colleagues to back Councillor Long to try and build that integrity. For Torbay, there are some real good possibilities. Over the previous 4 years, there were some solid foundations laid of how we can improve the bay. And we don't want to throw that away by dissolving into C9 fighting between the parties on Torbay Council. It should be about how we can come together and work together with these opportunities that are before us. But actually, what has been spoken of by the Conservative leader is actually creating a brew that is poisonous and could potentially poison the local authority, when it should be all about coming together and championing Torbay, because that's what we got elected for, not fighting like this.
If there's no more debate, I shall move to Councillor Cowell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been around Torbay, as many of you know, for more years than I probably care to remember, and I've been involved in local government for many of those years, usually for the majority of that time as an observer from what used to be a packed public gallery on the mayor-making occasion. Today is a sad day for Torbay. I thought December was poor, and I thought we were working our way through that to make positive progress for cross-chamber collaboration. I'm afraid a coach and horse has been driven through that arrangement. It was an arrangement based on trust and no surprises. So you can imagine my surprise when I found out third hand, because the independent group didn't have the courtesy of being notified of the Conservative group's decision, which in itself points to a lack of respect and honour, and it's extremely disappointing for myself, Councillor Emile, and indeed for Councillor Madison. So I should be saying I'm delighted to be seconding Swithin, Councillor Long, and I am. I've known Swithin for many years, and in actual fact, when we first crossed our paths, we were on opposing sides. I was championing the Labour cause, Swithin was championing the Liberal Democrat cause, and I think it's fair to say that we weren't always the best of chums. But the one thing I've learned in the last 5 years, because of collaboration, building partnership, building trust, building respect, I've seen Councillor Long for the man that he is, and the man that actually cares passionately about Torbay and its communities. The opportunity for him to serve would be for the benefit of all those groups and individuals that Councillor Long outlined in his speech. And it is deeply disappointing that the role of Civic Mayor, a role that Councillor Spagagna has undertaken in the past 12 months in difficult circumstances on occasion, is a non-political role. Today, it's been weaponised and it's been politicised. I find that regrettable. So I know that there are honourable members around this chamber, bearing in mind on the 1st of February that we all unanimously supported the appointments of the Deputy and Mayor-elect. As Councillor Darling asks, what's changed? Councillor Long hasn't changed. So what has changed? We all know what has changed. And I find it really disappointing that members will be whipped and forced to vote against what may be their conscience. And if at the very least you're wrestling with your consciences at this moment, I would urge you to abstain if you can't support the motion before us. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wonder if the leaders of the administration have thought some of this through. The consequences of their actions are, I think, broader than any of us realise. Firstly, the exciting plans, of course, that Councillor Long has been formulating are not going to happen. His invited guests return home disappointed, and they will not thank the Conservative Party for it. I wonder if you thought that about the hesitant Conservatives in the Wellswood by-election, hesitating quite possibly through shame at what the party has become nationally, and which you're exemplifying here. What will they get to hear of concerning this behaviour, and are they likely to turn away from you? Any cooperation that may have been extended between the parties in this council previously, and I think you know that I personally have been trying hard to promote cooperation, but that is now likely to dry up, and council business will almost certainly slow as a result. Members of the public here may likely cry shame at what they're seeing, and I certainly do, because self-interest is what I have seen at every turn of this administration. And the public out there in Torbay will think even less than they currently do of their politicians. And this is not good for our increasingly fragile democracy. I frankly think it's time that other people step forward in the Conservative ranks. The party needs a clean out, and I question whether you are fit for the jobs.
I will now take to the vote, which will be recorded. Chief Executive, please take the recorded vote.
Members, I will now take roll call. When your name is called, please indicate how you wish to vote on the motion before you. Councillor Emile.
For.
Councillor Atia Allah.
For.
Councillor Billings.
Against.
Councillor Brooke.
Against.
Councillor Bryant.
Against.
Councillor Bye.
Against.
Councillor Carter.
For.
Councillor Cowell.
For.
Councillor George Darling.
For.
Councillor Steve Darling.
For.
Councillor Douglas Dunbar.
For.
Councillor Fellows.
Against.
Councillor Fox. Councillor Harvey.
For.
Councillor Hutchins.
Against.
Councillor Johns.
For.
Councillor Law.
For.
Councillor Barbara Lewis. Councillor Chris Lewis. Councillor Madison. Councillor Nicolau.
For.
Councillor Penny.
For.
Councillor Pentney.
For.
Councillor Spigagna.
Against.
Councillor Stevens.
Against.
Councillor Strang.
Against.
Councillor David Thomas.
Against.
Councillor Jacqueline Thomas.
Against.
Councillor Tolshard.
Against.
Councillor Tranter.
Against.
Councillor Twelves.
Against.
Councillor Timon. Councillor Verdi.
For.
Shame on you.
Mr Mayor, there were 16 votes for and 17 votes against. On that basis, the motion has failed. In the circumstance, as a result of the vote, Mr Mayor, Section 3 of the Local Government Act 1972 applies, meaning that you continue in office as Civic Mayor until the Council elects a successor to act as Civic Mayor.
I move to item 4, election of Deputy Civic Mayor of Torbay. Councillor George Darling, put this motion to the Council.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's my pleasure to propose Councillor Harvey for this position of Deputy Mayor over the coming year. Kelly is perhaps the most talky person I have ever met. Growing up in Barton, she can trace her family history back to the 1700s, where her ancestors were living in St Mary Church. She would not be the first of her family to hold civic office. In Torbay as well, her grandmother's cousin, Arthur Ellison, was Mayor of Torquay in 1967. Kelly has worked in a variety of fields: hospitality, retail, and as a support worker roles, as well as has a bachelor's in criminology and a postgraduate diploma in victimology and psychology. Her passion, however, is community, and having worked in several voluntary roles in her previous years, founded Torbay's first social supermarket. She is passionate about preserving Torbay's history, culture, and environment. Kelly knows that Torbay has had its struggles, but believes our greatest strength is our community working together. As a mother, she wouldn't want to raise her daughter anywhere else and wants to champion a future in the Bay that benefits and includes everyone.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder?
Yep, I second Councillor Harvey and reserve my right.
I now invite debate. Councillor Steve Darling.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I will only be brief because I suspect we know what may be happening. We may have got the memo by now, but I think it is very important that we should be supporting those who put community at the heart of their world. And I would like to also ask for a recorded vote on this item as well, please, Mr Chairman.
Yes, a recorded vote as before. The recorded vote would have been taken. Thank you. Is there any further debate before we go to the vote? Councillor Atiala.
Nothing further to say, sir.
Councillor George Darling.
Happy to proceed to the vote.
I will now go to the vote.
Members, when I call your name, please indicate how you wish to vote. Councillor Emile.
For.
Councillor Atiala.
For.
Councillor Billings.
Against.
Councillor Brooke.
Against.
Councillor Bryant. Councillor Bye.
Against.
Councillor Carter.
For.
Councillor Cowell.
For.
Councillor George Darling.
For.
Councillor Steve Darling.
For.
Councillor Douglas Dunbar.
For.
Councillor Fellows.
Against.
Councillor Fox.
For.
Councillor Harvey.
For.
Councillor Hutchins.
Against.
Councillor Johns.
For.
Councillor Law.
For.
Councillor Barbara Lewis. Councillor Chris Lewis.
Against.
Councillor Long.
For.
Councillor Madison.
For.
Councillor Nicolau.
For.
Councillor Penny.
For.
Councillor Pentney.
For.
Councillor Spigania.
Against.
Councillor Stevens.
Against.
Councillor Strang.
Against.
Councillor David Thomas.
Against.
Councillor Jacqueline Thomas.
Against.
Councillor Tolshard.
Against.
Councillor Tranter.
Against.
Councillor Twelves.
Against.
Councillor Tyman. Councillor Verdi.
For.
Mr Mayor, there was an equality of votes at 17 votes for and 17 votes against. Mr Mayor, can you please indicate how you wish to exercise your casting vote?
Against.
The motion has therefore failed.
This meeting will now be adjourned till 5:30 p.m.
Mr Mayor, sorry, I thought you were moving on to the vote of thanks. My apologies. Just before you move that, I have an amendment. I have a motion I wish to move as part of the Constitution where I do not need to give notice.
No surprises.
Can we please, this is a difficult enough situation as it is. Thank you very much, Councillor Darling. Councillor Dave Thomas.
Thank you indeed, Mr Mayor. I wish to move a motion that this meeting is adjourned until the 20th of June, when this venue is available. There is other matters to deal with, including the political balance. We had spoken previously about little points in trying to do political balance on two separate occasions, and it would make sense to deal with political balance once after the by-election in Wellswood. Therefore, Mr.
Right. Goodbye, the audience. Please leave. Please leave. Please leave. Please leave. Councillor Thomas, do you have a seconder?
I rise second. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, governance support will now receive it in writing. This is a motion that's been moved without prior notice, so we are going to adjourn for 5 minutes. 5-minute adjournment. Before I move to the vote, in accordance with Standing Order A15.11, would the Chief Executive, Deputy Monitoring Officer and Chief Finance Officer indicate whether there is any business they believe should be transacted at this meeting?
Mr Mayor, I took the opportunity of the adjournment to liaise with both the Deputy Monitoring Officer and the Section 151 Officer. There is no business that we believe has to be transacted this evening.
Standing Orders required this procedural motion to be put to the vote, which I have asked to be recorded. Therefore, I now move to the vote. All those in favour?
Mr Mayor, the standing orders set out that for procedural motions they are to be put to the vote without debate.
Stifling debate as well, like what?
Well, he'll have to use his casting vote to get a vote.
So, Chief Executive, please take a recorded vote.
Members, when I call your name, please indicate how you wish to vote on this procedural motion to adjourn the meeting. Councillor Emile. Councillor Emile?
Against.
Councillor Atia Allah. Councillor Billings.
For.
Councillor Brooke.
For.
Councillor Bryant. Councillor Bye.
For.
Councillor Carter.
Against.
Councillor Cowell. Councillor George Darling. Councillor Steve Darling. Councillor Douglas Dunbar. Councillor Fellows.
For.
Councillor Fox. Councillor Harvey. Councillor Hutchins.
For.
Councillor Johns. Councillor Law. Councillor Barbara Lewis. Councillor Chris Lewis.
For.
Councillor Long. Councillor Madison. Councillor Nicolau. Councillor Penny. Councillor Pentney. Councillor Spigania.
For.
Councillor Stevens.
For.
Councillor Strang.
For.
Councillor David Thomas.
For.
Councillor Jacqueline Thomas.
For.
Councillor Tolshard.
For.
Councillor Tranter.
For.
Councillor Twelves.
For.
Councillor Tyerman. Councillor Verdi. Mr Mayor, there were 17 votes for, 2 against, and 15 absent at the time of the vote. The motion is therefore carried.
Thank you. Right, the motion is carried. Therefore, this meeting will now be adjourned to the 20th of June 2024 to deal with the remainder of the business. Thank you for attending the meeting.